sitting at a table. It's all
Please
good.
place your right hand on one of the recording devices.
I should have checked to make sure I didn't have boogers in my nose, but now it's too late for that.
All right, well, let's dive in with Kylie Kane. Not in the original comics, so talk about the decision to put her in the story.
Yeah, so, looking at the original story, the Robins, we call them the Robins because, they're stand-in Robins, and there was a stand-in for Tim and Dick and Jason, and, as the story goes, as in this version of Batman, and this was a very early discussion we had, it's like, Sam Liu brought it up, and Sam and Jim Krieg, Sam's the director, Jim Krieg's producer, and I were in the early stages of development. We're like, well, if Batman, or this version of Bruce has been all around the world, right? And he left when he was 8, and he's traveled the world, and he's been accumulating Robins. It seems that maybe, those Robins would be more international, and it really just kind of came from that. Kylie was wound up becoming one of my favorite, and Sanjay too. I just really liked how he did. But they, Sanjay's Jason Todd and Kylie is like an amalgam of a couple different Robins. But yeah, so that's how it came about. It just seemed like it seemed like natural to the story, and it was organic to the story.
So how did the decision come to adapt like this 20-year-old Elseworlds story into a movie?
How did it come? I wish I knew, but I'm so glad it was brought to me. You know what I mean? It's just like Jim Krieg, who's the mastermind, does a lot of this stuff. I was working on Superhero Girls at the time. I've done a couple projects for Warner Brothers and been doing a couple since, but we were office near each other in the office, and he knew I was a horror guy because I love horror movies, and we were talking, and then he just called me. He's like, do you want to give a crack at that? I'm like, we play like Lovecraft and Batman? Yeah. And it's like, I don't think he even got the title out before I was on board. So it just seems like a natural fit, you know what I mean? Like Batman and Lovecraft is so much of Batman's, I'm sorry, is that throwing off your camera? No. So much of Batman's world feels like it's, Lovecraftian in nature. Well, Arkham Asylum, and stuff like that. So.
I'm curious how you balance taking something like this, putting your own spin on it, but yet with decades of source material, other variations of it, that's got to be tough because you're trying to be fresh and original, but yet respectful. How do you find the balance?
I don't know. It's a great question, though. Thanks. This one was particularly tricky because, I am a huge Batman fan. And, since I've been with Warner Brothers, I've done 5 different versions of Batman. And they're all completely different. You know what I mean? They're all completely different from each other. They're from, the sort of sillier version from DC Superhero Girls, a couple other projects I'm also working on, Bruce Timm's show. And it's just, they're all different. So you have that to worry about. But here you also have the triple whammy of Lovecraft. Not that there's a huge Lovecraft appetite out there, but it's gotten bigger and bigger, and so you want to honor that. And then you also want to honor Mike Mignola in the original book. So there was a lot to balance. But I think what I try to do is to distill the essence of each without betraying, but still adding my own spin. What I like to do with a story like this is to sort of distill the character, and obviously this is, it's a Bruce Wayne story. And so one of the things where I put my own, to answer your question about the personal spin, I sort of, towards the end of the book, it's so cool because, like I said, I'm a horror fan and I love werewolves, and I don't know how familiar you are with the book, and I don't want to give any spoilers. Should I not give spoilers, right?
Okay. Give whatever you want.
Okay. I just don't want to. I don't know how many of you guys have seen it.
Yeah,
I know, but there's a part in the book where you have werewolves, and to me, I thought, it's awesome. It kills me to sort of take out the werewolves, but I wanted to give something that was more personal to Bruce, that was really going to attack what he was going through, sort of nail in the convictions, that he had come to grow on him over this course of the story, and we changed those, and I won't say, but you'll see who are in place of the werewolves. I don't know if they're I'll say they're the penultimate bad guys that before he fights Raja.
Nice.
Well, it's got to be hard when you're adapting a story that's a visual graphic novel, so many set visuals into a new format. I mean, how do you know when to follow the source material, and how do you know when to deviate some to make it adaptable for video?
Thanks for asking. That's great question. I don't know. It's funny because there's such different. Because I think the original really did Lovecraft solid. You know, it had this sort of like really Byzantine, sort of complex narrative going on in the background in terms of like the mythology of rage and all that stuff, and that was really hard to translate. It had all these different monsters, like the different versions of the Rogues Gallery in there. And it was an embarrassment of riches in a lot of ways. You know, you almost want to, because one, you want to keep it all in there. Two, because it was such a Byzantine sort of like backwards plot, pulling one element out, which normally you'd okay, I could take this out. It tripped down everything, like had a rippling effect, so it was hard to sort of take it out. So it really was just, it was going back to the essence of, okay, what's the story? And I really sort of looked at Bruce Wayne. This is a Batman we've never seen before. There's a familiarity, a touchstone to him that I wanted to sort of keep in, but like, also it's because it is an Elseworlds Batman, you get to interpret him in a way, like normally in a Batman series, or a show, you have Batman, right, and he starts off and something happens, and at the end of the show, with any series, you bring that character back to A. Like he's got to be back to point A. Right. You know what I mean? Because that's what makes a series. But here, he wasn't going back, you know, in movies. So, I sort of lost my train of thought here, but that's kind of what, as the guiding post, like looking at A, looking at where he goes to B, right? And then long as you're sticking to that and try to streamline as much of the other things as you can.
Without spoiling, you know, too much for this particular question, is there anything that you can tease about, like tone or whatever, from Batman Caped Crusader?
Oh, it's awesome. I don't want to get in trouble. Honestly, I am more afraid of Bruce Timm than I am of Lovecraft. So I'm kidding. There's nothing I could. I mean, honestly, I can't. Anything that's out there has been out there. But yeah, okay. I wish I could. No, shut up. Okay. Nice try though.
How fun was it to write this kind of quirky, drunk, eccentric version of Oliver Queen?
The best. It was. Things. Yeah, that was. So. I mean, I wish, without giving away too much of his character and spoilers there. And I do feel bad about giving spoilers. I caped. I wish I could.
Hey, no.
I really wish I could because I'm a fan too, and I would want to know too. And I was like, I'm going to be a jerk. But I am afraid of Bruce. I'm kidding. Bruce is awesome. That's what we do. But I forgot what to say. Yeah, with Oliver Queen, I think he was I think the relationship between him and Kylie was really. I could have done a series on them. I just love those two, and I loved his character, and I think Mr. Gorham knocked it out of the park. Who did the voice acting because he had to deliver so much pathos and so much sacrifice and so much whatever, but be the comic relief. Because really, if you think about it, again, spoiler alert, not really, but he's the most tragic character in the story. He's the most tragic, if you think about it, because his sacrifice didn't add up as some of the other characters' sacrifices. So yeah, he was a joy to write, and I think Christopher Gordon just knocked it out of the park.
Me reading too much into a moment in the movie, but Sanjay drawing the straw, is that like representative of like the fact that he was voted out also in the comics to die?
You know what? I don't. I don't have a recollection. Was the straw in the comic? Or was it?
Honestly, I don't remember if it was in the comic or not.
I don't know. I didn't want to kill Sanjay because I had so much fun with him, and part of it was, we had so much in this, and there was so much more. Like I just thought he was such a funny character and such a fresh take, and each of the Robins, we just kind of took what was in the book and magnified it. Like Kylie was our she was sort of like our avatar into this world. Like she helped us understand, who. Like, wait, what are we doing in Gotham? Because there's like, you have so much exposition to get out. She was and Sanjay was just like, before Oliver came on, he was like a good comic relief. And, but I don't have a recollection of the straws. So no, I would say no.
I just thought it was funny that in the comic he dies because a poll goes wrong on telephone, and in this movie a poll goes wrong and he dies.
Does it make me sound smarter if it does?
Yeah.
Then absolutely. This was the plan. When we sat down, I said, guys, here's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to mess up his camera. Sorry. Sorry.
Well, it seems like everybody has their own version of Bruce Wayne in their head. If you had a chance to write your own, who would he be?
Yeah. Who would Bruce Wayne be?
Yeah.
Gosh. Could it be one that I've already done, or no? I really like this Bruce. I mean, I don't want to diss any of the other Bruces that I've worked with, but I really love this version of Bruce for kind of the reason that I had stated before, is because you got to. There's always the thing. Here's the thing about Batman, right? We all know this. Like Adam West is Batman. Kevin Conroy is Batman, and Christian like so many different versions of Batman. So you can't. There's certain things that you've got to respect and keep true to the character, but with the Elseworlds, you can sort of take them and break them, and you don't have to put them back together. And that's why I kind of like this version of Bruce. It's like like Bruce has always got to come out of it. Batman's always got to come back to A, and here he didn't have to, and I thought that was kind of cool.
I know you're talking about like the characters in general. Like, what would be your favorite villain from this?
My favorite.
Who's your favorite villain?
Oh, from the book itself.
Yes.
I really like Brendan. I mean, I don't know if he counts as a villain because he's kind of like a poor sap who's a. But I loved what they did in the book with Brendan, and that's what sold me on the book. Or sold me on all. I mean, I was sold anyway, but yeah, I just thought Brendan was a really kind of cool and tragic character, and those Lovecraftian guys who just fall like the characters who succumb to madness. I just think are really kind of cool.
Gary gave us the signal, so I wasn't sure.
Oh. I don't know. I was like really awkward. I was like, was Brendan the wrong answer? Were you guys like, yeah, he was going to say Raj. I knew it.
You chose Paul.
You're like, all right.
This is great. So you guys just have a lot of people come in and